Well, hello, and thank you very much for clicking onto this video today. So, before we get into the details of this one, I just have to say, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because every time something comes out about Nigel Farage and his financial irregularities, if we want to put it like that, it's always on days when I'm busy doing other things. I really don't have time or opportunity to make a video about it, kind of quickly after the fact. It's irritating. Like, come on, Nigel, come on. Can't you think of me? Can't you think of me and my schedule in this whilst all this stuff has been dragged out about you? But anyway, so let's about me. So let's get into this. So we're going to be going through all of the recent financial irregularities. Let's put it like that. So this is coming from The Times, The Independent, The Guardian, The Byline Times. Pretty much everywhere has written about this because it's a big story. So there have been a lot of private concern raised by Nigel Farage's allies that he's on borrowed time after questions over his relationship with a convicted criminal called George Cottrell, who is also nicknamed Posh George, emerged over the weekend. So George Cottrell is a convicted fraudster. Is convicted in America. We'll get onto that in a moment. But so Mr. Cottrell is Mr. Farage's longtime aide and is said to have provided funding for the Reforms Leaders operation. And this includes staff, security and housing. And this was before the 2024 general election and has continued to allow him to use his 5-story Georgian townhouse he rented near Buckingham Palace. This is according to an investigation by the Sunday Times. And this has prompted calls for Nigel Farage to face even more investigations by the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards. Now, needless to say, obviously Farage and his cronies vigorously deny these claims. But according to The Independent anyway, privately, a number of Nigel Farage's allies have raised concerns about whether he's nearing the end of his run. And so, just to kind of go over these kind of details. So let's kind of go into what has happened. So he faces a number of questions. So initially, MPs are supposed to declare gifts from the 12 months before they become an MP, which he is, amongst other things, accused to have failed to do. So one thing that is interesting is that, as the Byline Times points out, and as several other people have pointed out, there's actually been quite a lot of people kind of in the smaller journalism space that have been pointing out Nigel Farage actually has some quite shady connections and always has done for years. And it seems only until relatively recently that kind of more mainstream media have kind of caught onto this and thought, maybe we should look at this guy's finances. There might be something interesting there. So in total, 5 referrals have been made to the Standards Commissioner, covering 4 separate bubbling crises for the leader. The $5 million undeclared pre-election gift from the crypto billionaire Christopher Harbon. That's, bear in mind, that is the $5 million undeclared gift which he received before he decided that before he announced he was going to become an MP. He is also facing allegations that he failed to declare some of his properties. He also faces accusations of lobbying for the Bank of England crypto policy, having received millions from Harbon. And bear in mind, Harbon made his money and makes his money from crypto. From crypto. And we'll get into a little bit more of that. And he is now facing under fresh fire for the undeclared financial support from convicted fraudster George Cottrell. Now, as the Byline Times kind of outlines, a common defence that Farage is using is that Cottrell in particular, he's just a friend. He's just a friend, doesn't have anything to do with the party. But in 2019, the Byline Times reported that he effectively acted as a treasurer for the then Brexit Party and their fundraising. He was also arrested in 2016, while Farage and Richard Tice, the then chair of the Brexit Party and co-founder of Leave.eu, and he was charged with 21 counts covering money laundering, bribery, blackmail, and wire fraud. And as the Byline Times points out, Cottrell served only 8 months because basically he got a sweet plea deal Well, it involved him showing the FBI basically how he did launder the money. So he got off pretty easily when you consider what he was actually found guilty of doing. And now the Sunday Times reports that the Montenegro-based Cottrell funded Farage's private security, staff, transport and accommodation in the year before he became an MP, and let him use his 5-story house in Buckingham Palace, which I've already just said. And Reform's Robert Jetrick, who basically came out to basically defend him, said they were just friends, even though it's very doubtful, and that he is seeking legal advice, which, I don't know. So to kind of summarise, I mean, first of all, I think it needs to be said, and it won't come as a surprise, that billionaires and millionaires, whether they're in the UK or outside the UK, shouldn't be able to donate money to any political party, or certainly not in these amounts. They should be able to donate 50 quid a year, because the problems of them donating huge amounts of money to a political party is really obvious. It's corruption. It is blatant corruption. And we'll see a little bit later how that corruption takes part, because Farage is accused, and it's very likely that he did basically lobby the Bank of England to not regulate cryptocurrency, which is which one is it? There's so many. Which the first, Christopher Harborne, there we go, which Harborne is involved in, and he gave him a substantial amount of money, and all of a sudden Farage is very interested in cryptocurrency and very interested in cryptocurrency not being regulated. And there's one thing that the Byline Time notes. They said that last year they reported on comments from Farage, which he said before he was going to stand in the 2024 election. He said there was no money in politics if you're straight, meaning if you're not corrupt. And then, as we know, it then emerged that he received that $5 million from the crypto billionaire around the time he decided to run for Parliament. And then, as the Byline Times observes, after being elected, as I just said, he subsequently met with the Bank of England governor to lobby for crypto deregulation and argue against a policy, a Bank of England owned digital currency, and how it could directly affect his buddy, his donors. So you can see a chain of where someone gives someone money, it directly influences their decision making, and they directly lobby on behalf of them. So you can see the corruption very blatant, very much in the sunlight, as it were. And one thing that has not helped him, certainly when it comes to the original $5 million, is that he changed his story quite a few times as to what it was for. He said, it was originally for security. And then he said, no, it wasn't for security. Let me think. No. It was actually for, as a gift, a reward for lobbying for Brexit, which is a really funny thing to say, because that kind of sounds like you're pushing for Brexit because you were expecting to get paid by someone for doing it. So those are kind of a brief kind of outline of what he's kind of accused of doing. As quite a lot of people have pointed out, he has basically gone down into hiding. He's kind of like, those what they call hermit crabs, that kind of hide in their shell whilst he's to kind of avoid trouble. That's basically what he's doing. For someone that certainly loves the media attention, he has suddenly been absent. Specifically in America, that's currently where he is, and is sending out his cronies to try and basically weather the storm. And the funny thing is I've seen not only Reform politicians say this, but also some of the Reform actual supporters kind of say this, they are now massively accusing the Times of being some kind of far-right newspaper, which is one of the funniest things I think I've heard so far this year. It's like, what are you talking about? The Times is, at best, I would say, centre-right. Like, the idea that there's some kind of far-left newspaper is extraordinary. And it's just playing into that kind of Trumpian tactic of make yourself the victim when questions are being raised about you. There are accusations that you've done things wrong, and just attack where it's coming from, saying, no, this is just fake news, this is all nonsense. I'm innocent. I'm going to take out legal advice and I'm going to sue them, which I guarantee will almost certainly not happen, even though they've insisted that they're probably going to do that. The reason being, the Times is not some kind of bastion of journalism by any means, but their report that they did would have gone through an entire fleet of lawyers before they published it, almost certainly, because they know as well as anyone else that Farage has plenty of millionaire buddies who will very happily give him money to sue them. So if there wasn't any truth in this, they would have not published it. They wouldn't have taken that financial risk at all. And one thing that, as quite a few people have pointed out, which I find quite interesting, is all of these people that have donated to the Reform Party, all these big kind of billionaires and millionaires, a lot of them are not based in the UK, they're based overseas, almost certainly for tax reasons, which just adds a little bit of cherry onto the cake, so it's on the cake, so to speak. So it's like, oh, okay, so you hate immigrants, just generally. I mean, that's basically your entire platform. But when it comes to people that have migrated to another country who give you lots and lots of money, that you're okay with. Funny that. And people are kind of speculating, will this kind of throw Nigel Farage out? Will there be a coup? Will he resign? No, I doubt it. I mean, it could happen, but I seriously doubt it, because Reform is basically kind of a one-man band. I mean, most of the other MPs that they have weren't really elected to be Reform MPs. They just defected from the Conservative Party because they saw which way the wind was blowing at the time and thought, oh, well, we'll jump on this ship instead of the current sinking ship that we're on. So I seriously doubt that he'll go, or that someone will wrestle control from him, because without him, what else do they really have? Not very much. But anyway, thank you very much for listening to this little rant today. I hope you have a good time, and I'll catch you later. So, bye-bye.